Okay, here we are. Welcome, everybody. Sorry we're a little bit delayed, but we are started at top of the hour. Today we have a special guest. Like you know, we are used to have some interviews, talking about books, talking about businesses, but today we're going to focus on books. And I'm happy to welcome Tetris. And Tetris, welcome today. Thank you for being here. And could you tell us about you?
Sure. My name is Stacey Harrison. I'm from New Orleans, born and raised in New Orleans. I'm an attorney and recently published author. Just published my first book called Bitch Hunt, and it's about 5 female attorneys. And I take you through each one of their lives and about how people personally attack them because of who they are or who people perceive them to be. And then I take you through each person's situation and how they overcome that situation.
Which is awesome. Could you tell us about you more, like in depth, what Tetris likes to do and things like that? Are you a mom?
So, yeah, I'm a mom. My son's 32. I had to think about that because he just made 32. So I used to be married, divorced, got divorced in law school. Like I said, I'm an attorney, and then I like to do different things in New Orleans. New Orleans always has different events going on, so I usually go to festivals or either some type of live band events or just different things. There's always something to do, spoken word events. So New Orleans is pretty busy, so it keeps me pretty busy.
That's awesome. So you are an attorney, you are Black African American, and you've been through a lot. So we're going to discuss a little bit about that. We know a little bit more about you. You are a mom. What made you decide to write a book and publish it? Because you could have written it and never published it, or think it's not good enough, or for XYZ reason, you could decide not to publish it. So what made you write the book in the first place, and what made you make the move to publish it?
So you're right. There was some points where actually when I was writing where I felt like maybe I shouldn't publish it or shouldn't even write it, but I was able to get past that point. The reason why I wrote the book is because I'm actually in the book. I talk about my experience as an attorney. I got arrested, and so I take you through the process of what happened of me being wrongfully arrested because I was a Black female and because of who I am and because people feeling threatened by me because of my confidence and the person that I can be because I speak up when I see injustices going on. So I take you through that whole situation. So because of that incident, I decided to find other people whose stories were similar to mine. And so that's how you get the 5 people in the book, which includes me in that chapter. So each chapter is about a different person. So I'm chapter 1, and then you have 4 other females who are also Black female attorneys. And so it's similar stories. So that's why I wrote the book, and that's what the book, is about. And what made me want to write the book is because I felt that it was important to highlight my story as well as other female stories and about the things that we go through as Black female professionals.
Absolutely. And without giving away the whole story, which is in the book, you could guys go and get your copy. I was lucky enough to go through your chapter, so I won't give away anything. What would you tell us? Tell the audience to make them feel like they want to get a copy. What's the reason? What's the main takeaway they would get out of it?
I would I would say that, especially for females, but I mean, I'm not saying the book is only for females, but especially for females, this is a way to kind of look into professionals who you assume have it going on, and not saying that we don't have it going on, but you think that they're maybe untouchable. And so you still see that these people are human as well, and that they go through their trials and tribulations, even as a professional, even with having as much education as we have. We are still human beings, and we're still vulnerable to any things that can happen in this world, and even the littlest of things to the biggest of things. And so that's the takeaway, is to just understand that there are other people that have gone through the exact same thing that they have gone through, and that you can understand that, and understand that you can stand up for yourself, because I stood up for myself, and each one of these ladies did different things to stand up for themselves.
What did motivate you to become a writer?
I would say the main thing was a friend. After I went through the arrest and my trial, my friend at the time, my best friend at the time, had encouraged me to write the story. I thought she was crazy. I was like, I don't think anyone wants to read this. Why would anybody care about this? And she was like, she said, you'll be surprised. And she actually was right, because since I've written the story, I've had so many people, tell me how it resonated with them, how they were so glad that I did write it. That things that they didn't know about me, or things they didn't know about other people in the book, the other ladies that I wrote about. So I think that it's opened up my eyes to realize that I'm glad I did listen to her and I did write the book.
Awesome. And what would be the biggest takeaway from your experience? Let's say you were able to talk to your younger self at an early age. What would you tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self to believe in yourself. One of the things that I struggled when I was very young is I was an avid reader, but I always felt like I struggled with my writing. And I would just tell my younger self that your writing is great. Don't doubt yourself in your writing. You're going to do great. Continue to believe in yourself and continue to stand up for yourself.
And what pushed you to continue your studies? Because I know you have different degrees. What was the motivation? What pushed you?
I would say that came from my mom, who taught us to be very independent. I actually have a sister who's also an attorney as well. So both of us have that same amount of education. So I would say that it was my mom, my grandmother. We have a strong family of female, independent, outspoken females in our family. And so I think a lot of that came from them. And then also me wanting to strive to do better for myself. And so that was also, but I would say it came from family first and then down to me.
Awesome. And you had your family support, I suppose.
Oh, definitely. Always. Even with the book, I can tell this because that's not sort of giving it away. The foreword is a poem, and that poem is actually written by my mom.
Awesome. That's great. So you mentioned the fact that you've been arrested. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
You tell us that you've been arrested. So I'm wondering what happened. What was, without giving away the book, what was the circumstances?
Sure. So I came out to my car. So in New Orleans, because I live in New Orleans, there are certain parking lots. If your parking time expires, they put a boot on your car because it's a way for them to make money, because they charge you $100 to remove the boot. So you go on from a $5 parking to now $105 parking if you don't come back at a certain time. So when I come out to my car, I have this boot on my car. And so I called to get the boot removed. Well, while I'm waiting for that to happen, a stranger approaches me. And then this exchange happens between us. Now, mind you, I didn't know this person. And when I asked this person to leave, this person would not leave. And when the situation escalated where I had to inform this person that I'm a concealed carrier, which means I'm a firearm. I have a firearm license, so I can conceal carry my weapon. And so I had my firearm on me, and I had to, I explained to this person that I had this firearm. And then I wind up leaving the area, and he winds up calling the police, and he tells the police a whole different story. And then it starts the whole situation of where I get arrested, and then the trial and the whole thing.
If you had a chance to go back in the past, is there something you would have done differently?
I don't know what I could have done differently because of the fact that my car was inoperable. When he approached me, I didn't have my purse on me because everything I had dropped in my car. If I probably would have had my purse and my keys on me, what I probably would have done is I would have locked my car and I would have walked away. But I couldn't walk away because I was in a vulnerable situation. So it was kind of like I had to kind of stand my ground, not literally meaning with a firearm, but I just kind of had to stand my ground to kind of get him to get away from me because I was in a vulnerable situation to where I couldn't get to my purse and I couldn't get to my keys. Because all of that was, thrown at the bottom of my car. So I guess if I had to do it again, it would be that if I had my personal items on me, then I could have walked away from the situation and not engaged.
And you happen to be educated, you happen to be a lawyer. What would you tell someone who is not educated and don't know how to handle it the best way? What would be your advice?
Well, what I tried to do in that situation was I tried to diffuse the situation by basically ignoring the person. So what I would tell someone is to try to just basically ignore the person if you can. Try to put some distance, which I did. But just be smart. Pay attention to your surroundings, and that's what I was doing while the whole thing was going on. The thing I guess I probably would have done was maybe call the police. I didn't think I needed to because the situation ended, but I guess maybe call the police to document exactly what happened. So I would probably tell somebody that if you had your phone, maybe video, because that seems to be the thing that we're all doing now. Probably video the person not leaving you alone, so you have video that you could show the police, that, hey, no, this is what really happened. And, record yourself telling the person to leave you alone. So I would definitely probably say that, or either try to see if you can call 911 without alarming the other person.
That's awesome. What do you think about the new story that just popped out? The young lady, I don't remember her name. I just heard it before the show. She was murdered, a recent one. She was in her apartment. What do you think about that? I don't know if you heard about it.
You're talking about Breonna Taylor?
Yes, Breonna, yeah. Yes. What do you think?
So I can't really speak on that because I actually don't know all of the facts. From what I do know, I believe that they wrongfully went to her apartment. They wrongfully, I think, entered her apartment, and I believe that they shot her numerous times, which is why we have her incident along with the George Floyd incident. But what I find interesting, and which goes back to my book, is that women are treated differently when it comes to things like that. Everyone's spoken about the George Floyd situation and some of the other Black men situation, and in her conversation about Miss Taylor has basically been very minimal at least when it comes to the Black Lives Matter or trying to highlight the violence that's inflicted upon Black women. And so that's part of the reason why I wrote this book as well, is because of the fact that women, we are basically Black women are always taking the brunt of everything and treated as if we don't exist, but we're the ones that's always responsible for so many things, responsible for our family, responsible for our kids, responsible for our husbands, our significant others, whoever that is. But then when it comes time for us to get that justice, it's like everyone's silent and no one is talking about it. So I think it's an unfortunate situation, but it highlights the same things that I'm talking about how, they try to silence us and how we need to stand up and we need to let people know that we're here and that we're not going to take it. And we need to say her name and keep saying her name until those parties that are responsible are held accountable for what they did to her.
Well said. And when you had this journey for this book and looking for ladies into the same situation or experience the same, what was the best takeaway you had from meeting those ladies?
Actually, I did not meet them because I used my attorney know-how of research. What I did was I put in certain criteria when I went into Google or whatever I was researching on, and I found those stories. And so I researched every single person. Now, one of the persons rather in the book I am familiar with because they live here in New Orleans, but the other people were pretty much all research online. And one of them, another lady, chapter 3, I am familiar with her. She and I have had conversations before, so I knew a little bit about her. And interestingly enough, she got a copy of the book and read her chapter because I didn't tell anybody ahead of time what I was doing. I wanted to wait until the book was out because I just didn't want any interruptions or a whole lot of questions. So when she read her story, she was like, "I didn't know you knew me that well." And she was like, she said, "You nailed my story 100%. She said she was blown away about how well I did her story. And I told her, I said, "I didn't know you that well. It was the research that I did. And I was able to get into the mindset based off of the research that I did on each person. And I was able to just bring that person's story alive." So it just it made me feel good as a writer to know that I had nailed their story, which means that I probably nailed everybody else's story, even though I did not speak with them ahead of time.
That's awesome. So you enjoy the whole research process until the delivery of the product.
Yes, I did. As an attorney, you research, some attorneys don't like that, but I like researching. I love doing it and discovering that. I actually am already researching for my second book. And each time I think I have all of the information about the person, I learn even more information. And it's good to have that because it just makes your story that much better. The more people could kind of take a peek into that person's life and kind of understand them, which then helps you to understand their story.
I agree on that. So we already talked about the takeaway from your experience. Is there anything you would share with us for people reading the book, like somebody who's not a female or who never experienced it? Did you have, let's say, a male? Because we talked a lot about females.
So I actually just had a good friend of mine yesterday just told me, he said he read my story twice because he knew me, and he read another person's story twice because he was familiar with that person. And he said he loved the way I was able to kind of help him understand who these people were, how they, their story was so important. He said he gained insight into things that he had no idea. And it gave him a perspective on what Black females actually, again, professionals go through as a Black female professional, and give them more insight. And it just be maybe a little when dealing with other Black females, and not just professionals, just Black females in general.
Okay. Let's say nothing ever happened in your life, like you've never been arrested, you are not running for judge. Nothing ever happened that's really discriminating in your life. Do you think you would be where you are today?
Someone else asked me that, and I thought about that. I'm like, I think the reason why I got arrested was so that I could write this book, because honestly, if there's no arrest, I really just don't see a book. So at the time, of course, when I was going through it, it didn't make sense, but it makes sense now because it gave me that platform of what I needed to put out this information, because I was supposed to share this story with everybody.
So you think if this moment in your life that you've been arrested never happened, you wouldn't be a writer today?
I don't think so. Because I mean, there wouldn't have been any call for me to write, because who would I have been writing about? Being an attorney? I mean, nobody wants to read about me going to law school. I mean, nobody cares about that. I mean, that's not exciting. Okay, so, and I went to law school when I was in my mid-30s. That's still not exciting. That I'm a mom, that's not exciting. The fact that I got divorced, everybody, I mean, a majority of people in the United States are divorced. There's nothing sexy about that. But an attorney getting arrested, yes, that's a telling story. And when you take through the fact that I was also running for judge at the time, and you start looking into the politics, and then you start looking at, the way the story unfolds, then it makes sense. And then you have a story. But before that, I mean, I was just another person among everyone else. Everybody says we all have one book in us. Well, I think I have more than that, because I'm already up to like book 4 as far as what I'm going to be writing. So this book sparked something in me to where now all I want to do is now write.
Awesome. Anyway, that's why we have you today. So we're glad you wrote the book. So how do you feel like being the voice of no voices? Like those people who are not able to write their own stories and tell us what happened in their life. How do you feel about that?
Well, that's one of the things, and that's what I'm hoping what people will take away from that, is that you can speak your truth. You can stand in your truth. And that's one of the things that I tell people all the time, is to stand in your truth. And in order to do that, that means you have to stand up and speak it. And so I'm glad that I can be that person, to be that sounding board for other people, so that they can feel like they can stand up and say, okay, you know what? Tay Trees did it, so I can did it. I mean, I'm sorry, I can do it. Or this person did it, and I can do it. So I'm glad to be that person, to be that lead person, in order to get people to be able to stand up and say, this is what happened to me, and I want to talk about it.
Did you ever consider writing a children's book?
No, because my son's 32, and so I'm not
Because
that
I think
exposed
it's
to little
nice
kids.
to talk about it, but if you kind of start talking to young female, I think really young age, it's something that's grounded and they're gonna grow and know that they could do whatever they want. So I think it's something that would be great to kind of inspire young ladies at a really young age so they know this is what may happen and this is the option I have.
You know what? I never thought about that. So now you just giving me something else to think about. I actually wanted to, but COVID. I had wanted to reach out to some of the high schools and was going to definitely do that. But now we're in a different situation. Things are different. Schools are different. So I'm not exactly sure if the schools would be open to those types of things at this time. But that is something I did thought about looking into. So not necessarily maybe writing a different book, but maybe going out to speak to younger ladies or younger people in relation to my story. Yes.
Okay. What was out of the 5 stories you wrote, what is the most inspiring one and why?
Oof. I don't know. That's tough. That's tough. I would, if I had to say which one is the toughest story, I would say chapter 5. Um, each one of these ladies' story, including mine, is inspirational in different capacities. So it's really hard to say it. I mean, and I don't want to sound like like I'm tooting my own horn and say mine, because really I can't, because I just feel that each one of those stories are very compelling. But I would say the toughest story would be chapter 5. But overall, all of them I think are very inspiring for different reasons.
Okay. And why the chapter 5 then? Beside the fact that
What
it's like,
about you?
yes, why? Like without giving
Why
away the
chapter?
story, just why?
I can't, because then I would give away the story. But it just makes you really, when you go through each person's story and you get to that last story, it makes you realize why it's so important to stand up for yourself. That's what I'll say. That gives you the reason why you need to stand up for yourself by the time you get to the last chapter.
Okay, noted. So now my next question is about the discrimination. I am not familiar to New Orleans. The takeaway I had from your chapter is that shaking the order is not something okay. So if you could tell us about that order, what's the normal way of what I should know? Let's say tomorrow I'm visiting. What should I know?
Well, I mean, that was in my situation. I wouldn't say that's the norm. That's not the norm. New Orleans is just like pretty much any other city where you have, dangerous things or things happening and things of that nature. You just like if I go to New York or if I go to California or I go wherever, you just need to be mindful and careful of your surroundings. Um,
Mm-hmm.
um, it was a situation that kind of caught me off guard because of the fact that my car was booted and I wasn't able to kind of maneuver myself away. But I think that anybody going anywhere and visiting any place needs to just needs to be careful of your surroundings, not go anywhere you're not familiar with, and then make sure that you're go together. This was a office. This was around uh, 5, 6 years in the evening, so it was just starting to get dark. So you wouldn't expect something like that to be happening, but it just made me more aware of when I'm going places. Um, Now when I do go places, I am even more attentive. Not that I wasn't, but I'm even more attentive. And if I feel uncomfortable, I make sure to position myself or either put myself in a situation where I can, take care of myself. But that's what I would tell anybody coming to New Orleans. Don't take my story to mean that New Orleans is dangerous. I think it was an isolated incident to a certain
Mm-hmm.
extent. Things happen, but I don't think that it would happen to every single person that came to New Orleans.
And was the fact that you were running for judge that was kind of part of the reason it went the way it went, or was it not related?
I think it was definitely related. I kind of lead people to believe that I just thought that it was interesting. Right around the time when I was announcing that I was running for judge, this incident occurs, and I believe the DA, who I name in the book, I believe that the DA used this as a means to try to stop me, to just try to discredit my name, where while he was going to promote another candidate, and only because I actually said it, he never actually came out and supported that candidate. But it was well known that he was going to support another candidate. But then it would have looked obvious, of course, if he would have done it. So he never did publicly come out to support said candidate. But I was fully aware, and that's a lot of things that happen in New Orleans, especially when it comes to politics. There's a lot of things that happen behind closed doors or unknown things that people don't talk about, and that's actually another book that I'm going to be writing. I'm going to be talking about New
That's
Orleans
about a
politics, so
fiction.
I'm actually
Sounds
going to
like a
dive in.
fiction coming.
No, that's nonfiction. I'm
Non-fiction?
like nonfiction, but there's a lot of things that go on. And I mean, New Orleans isn't the only one, but New Orleans has a long history of things when it comes to politics and, behind closed doors and, people being told to do this or do that or different situations. So I definitely think that it was an attack, not only because of who I am, but also because of the fact that I was running for judge.
Okay. How is New Orleans for Christmas? How is it like?
You say for Christmas?
Yes.
For Christmas, it's amazing. Now, of course, we don't get as cold as some of the other places, but we still have parades going on. We still have some kind of Christmas festivals. We have they do the lighting of a Christmas tree. We have that event, and then they have different hotels where they have Christmas trees different Christmas trees that are lit up. Santa Claus come and have brunch or breakfast or something with Santa Claus. I don't have a small kid, so I don't usually go to that, but I heard about it. And then we have a parade. We have a parade for everything. We have a Halloween parade. We have a Thanksgiving parade. We have a Christmas parade, and we have Mardi Gras parade. So we have a parade for that. There's a well-known character that was Santa's helper called Mr. Bingo. That's a New Orleans thing, and he was Santa's helper. And so we have the parade with Mr. Bingo in it, and Mr. Bingo used to be a part of this department store, and I'm dating myself. I want to say it's Maison Blanche, but I might be wrong. But I think it was Maison Blanche or D.H. Holmes, and he was a part of that. That was when we were kids. That was a long time ago. And so they use that now. He's a character, and he walks in the parade, and I think there's a float with Mr. Bingo on it and all that. So yeah, New Orleans does there's always something going on in New Orleans, always.
Okay, now my toughest question. How do you see Christmas 2020 with all the COVID and everything going on?
Not so New Orleans. I think it's going to be, put it this way. If they plan to do any of those things that I just talked about, Tatrice will not be attending any of those events. I will be quarantined at home. I'm limiting myself as far as activity and things like that. So normally, I go to events and things like that, and there's Christmas parties. I mean, there's so much stuff going on, but yeah, I will not be attending anything of the sort for year 2020. And praying that COVID will leave with 2020, and then when 2021 comes, we'll have a whole different year. But we'll see.
Okay. Do you think your book would be a great gift for Christmas?
Oh, definitely. I think that would be a great time for people to read. Besides watching the Hallmark Channel movies that I watch, because I started watching those right after Thanksgiving.
So where to find your book? Where to find you and where to find your book?
You can find me watching Hallmark, but no, you'll find my book on Amazon, Barnes&nobles, anywhere, and it's all over. It's in Canada, the UK, and the US, Germany, Japan, France. So my book is like all over. So you can find it anywhere. And
where to find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Tatrice Harrison, TAETRECE Harrison. I use the same name for all of my platforms. So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and my email address is tharrisonesq@icloud.com if you want to email me as well. So.
Perfect. And who could email you?
Anybody can email me. No,
So if
I
I
respond
happen to
to
read your
all
book,
emails.
I love it, and I want to talk to you, can I email you?
Yes, you can. You can email me. I would give out my number, but I don't want to do that.
No.
Even if you Google, technically, if you Google me because I'm an attorney, you can find my number online. So realistically, if you want to find me, you can find me.
Okay. So thank you so much for having you today. It was really a great pleasure having this conversation. I learned a lot about New Orleans. I've never been, but it's part of my to-do list. So it's going to happen
Yes.
maybe one day, not with COVID-19 right now, but we're going to have a day for that. And thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate our conversation. And thank you for all the tips. If you are getting arrested, just be aware. Use your phone, record. That's a great deal. And if you want to have more information about the 5 ladies, feel free to contact Chris. If you love her story, you have her email, you have also her Facebook, and you could get the book easy on Amazon. Thank you so
Yes.
much. And final word is all
Thank
yours,
you.
Tetris. Final word
Thank
for
you
you.
so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much. And then remember, everybody, stand in your truth.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.